You're listening to the Pace Radio Network here at paceradio.net.
The views expressed by the individuals during this broadcast are their own opinions, and they may not be the same as those of their group or other organizations they may be involved with.
All medical advice during our broadcast is not a medical opinion and should be checked with your medical physician.
Yeah, baby, that's lovely.
Good morning and welcome to Psychedelics Cannabis Education News for March the 19th here at paceradio.net. Good morning, Riv, Cindy. The 19th. March is not marching, it is running.
Yeah. March 19th already, like holy cannoli. I can't believe we're over halfway through this month. You know, heading to the end of March, the beginning of April, and yeah, already. Like it was just Christmas yesterday.
Well, you know, when I look outside, it still looks that way too.
Yeah, all the rain has taken all the snow away here. Some of the big piles where they had piled it are still drizzling down, but you know, all the regular snow on lawns and, you know, from a bit of blowing is gone. I actually have a tulip popping up from my Amsterdam tulips from last year that I planted.
Really?
Yeah, which is pretty cool. It's a beautiful sign of spring. You know, I looked in my forecast. We were talking about weather ahead of the show, and you were saying that, you know, you on April 1st in Havelock, Ontario, snow is predicted. April 1st.
April 1st. Unless the Weather Network's joking with us, I don't know.
Well, I don't know. I mean, like, you know, like it absolutely can happen. I mean, I've got bits of snow coming down here, but thankfully the temperatures are going to be warm enough that any snow that does come is going to be gone within, you know, an hour or two.
Yeah, exactly. All right. I'd like to remind everybody to like and subscribe, hit the like and subscribe buttons. And I also have another request because Facebook won't share us anymore. They say that we are breaking community standard rules. So they're not sharing us around. So it's going to take our watchers or viewers to do so. So if you're watching us on Facebook, make sure you share us around and we'll get around the algorithms that are shutting us down. So.
Yep. For reporting the news. I don't understand why they don't go after CBC or Global or something for the same stuff.
Exactly. Like they allow us to post it because like 99% of the stories that we go through are available on our Facebook page.
Yes.
So, you know, they're up there, but they seem to don't like the fact that we report on it. So yeah, share away.
Share away.
All righty. First story of the day.
First story of the day. Yeah, the first story of the day is a continuing story for us here. We are coming back to Nova Scotia and talking about the Indigenous once more. Coming to us from CBC Indigenous News. Member 2 Chief calls cannabis enforcement ban political. And Chief Terry Paul says Band wants Nova Scotia government to negotiate over the regulation and sale on Indigenous land. The dispute over cannabis enforcement in Member 2 First Nation continues to escalate, and leadership is now calling recent provincial actions politically motivated. In a follow-up to earlier tensions, Member 2 Chief Tony Paul says directive involving enforcement around cannabis sales on the territory is not about public safety, but politics. Absolutely, Terry. According to reporting from CBC News, the chief described the situation as a targeted move that undermines the community's authority and economic independence. At the center of the issue is ongoing disagreement between Member 2 leadership and the province of Nova Scotia, who has jurisdiction to regulate cannabis sales within the First Nation, while provincial authorities maintain that existing laws must be enforced consistently. Member 2 leaders argue that Indigenous communities have the right to govern commerce on their own lands. Chief Paul, pushed back strongly against outside interference, suggesting that enforcement actions risk damaging a successful, self-sustaining local economy. Member 2 has long been recognized for its economic development, with a range of businesses contributing to employment and financial independence within the community. The chief also warned that continued pressure from provincial or federal authorities could strain relationships and undermine reconciliation efforts. For many observers, the situation reflects a broader national conversation about Indigenous sovereignty, particularly in emerging industries like cannabis, where jurisdictional lines are still being tested. Supporters of Member 2 say this is about more than cannabis. It's about respecting Indigenous governance and recognizing that First Nations are not simply stakeholders, but rights holders. As tensions continue, the outcome of this dispute set important precedents for how cannabis regulation intersects with Indigenous jurisdictions across Canada. And we've said this before, Al, I am so excited to see this go all the way and to see it resolved in a court. I believe strongly that the First Nations will win straight across. This is going to set precedents, and I'm very proud of the Mi'kmaq Indigenous here in Nova Scotia for standing up and, bringing it to the fight.
Yeah, I'm super stoked too to see them doing the resistance, and looking forward to see what happens now. The as far as meeting with the government, it doesn't look like the provincial government has any mood or any desire to meet with the chiefs in order to set something up.
No,
for them to do their own.
It's going to end up being forced. It's going to end up being done through the courts.
Yeah.
And that's fine. I have complete faith in what the Indigenous communities are doing here in Nova Scotia. They have fought before and won. The last time the chiefs went to court was when an Indigenous dispensary off reserve was raided, and the courts decided to put a bunch of restrictions on the people that were arrested and take away all of their Indigenous rights. And the chiefs stood up and said, "Absolutely not. You will not take you will not take treaty rights away from our people based on this." And they went to court, Nova Scotia Supreme Court, and the chiefs won, giving back the people arrested all of their rights under the treaty. And so I feel it's going to be a very similar argument, with a different twist. And I'm so excited for them to bring this. It's been a long time coming.
Oh, it sure has been, and it'll be nice once the decision it gets to that point. Unless the government, the provincial government, decides to agree to allowing them to set up their own Indigenous Cannabis Act.
Yeah. I mean, from what I can understand, it's not going to be a whole lot different from the government. They still test their cannabis. They still do things. The big difference is going to come really in edibles, in the fact that, they will have different strengths of edibles. But beyond that, they do their testing. I mean, it's the same as in Ontario. There's, Legacy 420 does testing, and the people down here do testing as well. So yeah, it's just, let's bring it forward. And as it grows and it hits, the Canadian Supreme Court, I hope that the rest of the nations across Canada join in.
Yeah, exactly.
It'll be a strong voice.
Well. So, alrighty, from that story, we're going to move on to our next one. This one is coming to us from greenstate.com, and the headline on it says, "Cannabis rescheduling faces fresh doubts in new federal report." Since President Donald Trump signed an executive order directing his administration to complete cannabis rescheduling, observers have questioned when and whether the change will occur. Months have passed with little visible action. Now, a new Congressional Research Service report offers some talking points. As first reported by Marijuana Moment, and the CRS provided a revised briefing on cannabis policy entitled the federal status of marijuana and the policy gap with states. The report appears slightly less optimistic in tone than a previous version of it. Now, according to the researchers, the discrepancies between state and federal law on cannabis could be addressed by Congress, potentially. Areas include cannabis or marijuana's designation under the CSA, financial services for cannabis businesses, federal tax policy, oversight of federal enforcement, and state implementation. Now, if Congress takes no action, the DOJ may move cannabis from Schedule 1 to Schedule 3. This marks a shift from 2024 report, which said it was likely the DOJ would reclassify cannabis. This may call into question whether Trump's order will indeed be followed. The report also states that moving cannabis to Schedule 3 would not bring the state legal medical cannabis industry into compliance with CSA. The latest version of the memo referred only to recreational cannabis. No, other more pessimistic language notes include concerns about the United States compliance with international treaty obligations in regard to cannabis control and what may remain. Now, while compliance with international drug law has been cause for concern with regard to cannabis reform, other countries, including Canada and Germany, have legalized cannabis with no apparent consequences. The report is speculative and does not indicate how rescheduling will proceed. However, its tone shifts from momentum to caution, underscoring that meaningful reform may depend on Congress rather than an administrative action alone. Well, there you go, Cindy. Expeditious, quickly get going right away, just has not materialized.
Well, but this is just funny to say in and of itself, because normally it's the other way around. They are following in Canada's footsteps. The difference is the president said do this, whereas in Canada the Supreme Court said do this. It's going to take just as long. It took us 2-3 years to finally have it, come into play, and it's going to be the same down there. And what brought this thought to mind is let me see if I can scroll back up here and find the comment that I was looking for. Something about would not be state legal medical cannabis industry into compliance. The last version of the memo referred only to recreational.
Right, exactly.
So they're doing the same thing as our government did. It's like, okay, well, how can we make money?
Yeah, and the thing I'm looking at it as, the executive order said expeditiously, like to get on it right away, and nothing has been done.
The Canadian government, the Supreme Court said you have 12 months.
Oh yeah. And it was like 18 months before they actually changed the law. So there were 6 months there where cannabis was actually legal in Canada because there was no law against it.
Yes, because the Supreme Court.
Yeah, and people beat possession charges because of it. Yeah.
Yep. No, it was. So yeah, do I expect them to be expedient with it? No. I mean, 18 months minimum from the time he said it.
What I'm looking at this is just the process to decide whether to go to legalize. This isn't the process that is required for them to set up all the regulations and things like that. That can take a couple of years to do. Yep. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Alrighty.
From that, I'm going to close that off, and I'm going to come back over here and click this button on to the next story, which is coming to us from StratCan. The federal court overturns Health Canada's security clearance decision. A significant legal decision could have implications for how Canada regulates participation in the cannabis industry. According to StratCan, a federal court judge has overturned a decision made by Health Canada to deny a cannabis security clearance, a requirement for individuals working in certain licensed roles within the industry. Security clearances are used by Health Canada to assess whether individuals pose a potential risk to the integrity of the legal cannabis system. These decisions can consider factors such as past criminal history, associations, and other background elements. In this case, the court found that Health Canada's refusal was not significantly justified. The ruling emphasized that decisions impacting a person's ability to work must be fair, transparent, and supported by clear reasoning. The judge concluded that the process used did not meet the required legal standard, and the case has now been sent back for reconsideration. Legal experts say the decision highlights the importance of procedural fairness, particularly in an industry where many individuals may have past involvement with cannabis prior to legalization. Exactly. Given Canada's long history of prohibition, it's not uncommon for experienced operators to have prior charges or associations tied to the legacy market. The ruling could encourage greater scrutiny of how security clearances are assessed moving forward and may open the door for others to challenge similar decisions. For the cannabis industry, the case underscores an ongoing tension, how to transition from prohibition to regulation without excluding those who have helped build the sector in the first place. Yeah, don't cut out the people that have been working at this for years. You and I know a number of legacy growers that have ended up with their license under the government and, no longer have to do that look over their shoulder thing. And I'm friggin' happy for them. And that should be the way for anybody that has worked in the legacy industry and knows their stuff, especially.
Yeah. And this fellow was banned outright from being in the industry because he had past convictions of something, but it doesn't say what it was. Did he get busted with a few joints, or was he busted with trying to ship pounds out of the country? Who knows? Yeah.
Who knows?
Yeah. So
we got some love coming in from Bob Carlson in the form of a thumbs up. So thank you so much, Bob.
That's right. Thumbs up, Bob. All righty, on to our next story. And this one is coming to us from the Free Press. And the headline there says, Equal Representation, Cannabis Advocates Push for Public Pot Zones. There are hookah lounges and smoking zones, and now advocates are pushing the provincial government for public places to consume weed or cannabis. The Cannabis Business Association of Manitoba is calling on Premier Rob Canoe to greenlight public cannabis consumption spaces. Stephen Stairs, the organization's founder, has planned a rally outside the legislature on April the 20th. The association has few members, but keeps in touch with owners of roughly 100 businesses. Steve Stairs says that we're just looking for equal representation when it comes to access. It's about cannabis consumers being treated the same as an alcohol consumer. If, he says, a public cannabis consumption space means regulating buildings, then cool. If that means adults only areas at specific cornered off areas of public social gatherings, great. Now, Stairs offered baby steps, such as allowing for edibles and cannabis drinks in public places before committing to smoking. Now, British Columbia has designated public spaces for smoking and vaping cannabis, including in non-specific smoking areas. Ontario, it allows use in some public spaces, such as parks and sidewalks. I know on sidewalks, but I'm not sure about the park end of things. Now, Manitobans can use topical cannabis products in public. Topical, okay. Now, the Liquor, Gaming, and Cannabis Authority of Manitoba isn't aware of any moves to broaden public consumption, a spokesperson wrote in a statement. Now, the Justice Minister, Matt Weebu, who oversees the liquor, gaming, and cannabis portfolio, said his office hasn't received requests to amend the consumption laws, and any decision would need to balance Manitoba's health and social considerations, he wrote in a statement. But as I said to Stephen, Cindy, about this story, is that it's got to start somewhere.
It does.
And they're saying that nothing's been come to them about change. Well, you got to get the ball rolling. Stephen's getting the ball rolling, and hopefully that ball can grow like the snowball going down a hill, and they can get themselves some lounges in Manitoba.
It would be great. Now, I mean, in my drive across Canada a few years ago, I openly smoked cannabis in every province. And the only one that I got any, anything said to me was when I was in Quebec, actually, when I was in downtown Montreal. And I lit a joint, and somebody came up to me and they said, I just want to let you know that the police are just kind of over there across the way. They will ticket you for smoking your cannabis here. I just don't want you to get a ticket. So I put my joint out, right, and put it away. But apparently, yeah, it's the only place that I worried about. When I was in Winnipeg in Manitoba with a friend, and we were smoking outside his store. It was no big deal. Mind you, I didn't see any cops, but there was nothing said about it by anybody. Walking downtown Toronto, I mean, everybody's smoking a joint straight up. It's the same as downtown Vancouver.
Yeah, that was one of the things that Doug Ford did when he took over here in the province with the cannabis end of things, is that he allowed public consumption on sidewalks, so on and so forth. Yep. Now there are no smoking things when it comes to parks and things like that, but you weren't forced into requiring just only being allowed to consume in your home.
Yep.
Where there are places that you can't consume in public. So
yep.
We were glad that that we can do here anyways, walking down the sidewalk, smoking a joint. But there's places where it was in Halifax, a place where you couldn't smoke publicly, and they had smoking zones.
Oh, in Halifax, the way they did it in Nova Scotia, specifically in the HRM, it was legal to smoke anywhere, because they had smoking zones in Halifax for cigarettes. So it was legal to smoke anywhere. It was legal to smoke cigarettes, which was fine. But that took, it was a good couple of years. I mean, I remember being downtown Halifax within the first couple of months of legalization, and I didn't want to be harassed. It was a public thing going on. There was all kinds of people down there. So I went and found the legal smoking areas where the ashtrays were and smoking was allowed. And I would light up a joint, right? This is what the Nova Scotia government has told me is legal. And Al, I swear to God, it was the best thing ever. Because I'd be smoking, it'd be legal, and the cops still had no idea what to do with cannabis smokers. So next thing you know, I'm looking behind me, and there's this, 8 to 10 group of police officers that are all in a circle talking, and they're looking at me, and it's obvious that they're like, well, a few months ago, we would have to bust her. What do we do now? It was the greatest thing, so it brought a few laughs, and I enjoyed it, but eventually they got used to it. Now those laws are still technically the ones on the books.
Are they?
But when I go downtown Halifax, if I'm walking around and want to light a joint, I do. I would do the same thing as if I was a cigarette smoker. If I see somebody underage walking towards me, I'll put it out, I'll hide it, I'll make sure I move so that they don't get my secondhand smoke. That's only nice, that's only polite, right? If it's an adult, well, I make them move out of it if they don't like it, but if it's an underage person, I do the respect. Or if it's an elderly person that is giving me weird looks, I'll again, that's an elder respect thing, and that's what we should do. My activist only comes out for peers. Oh yeah, you don't like it, you walk around me. But for my elders and the kids, I definitely do my best, and that's just the way it should be, right? Yeah. And I don't understand Manitoba or Montreal, Quebec, for that reason. Really, you're gonna but you can smoke a cigarette? You got your homeless people walking around with their brown bags, but you're gonna come at me for a plant? It's just it baffles my mind that there's still that thought process in this country.
Yeah, I know, it's crazy. All right, time for us to take a break. We got 4 more stories to bring to you after the break. We're talking about some money that's going to the communities based on from cannabis. We're going to talk about how patients, low-income patients, are getting access to psychedelics, as well as there's been a shift in the per capita. The number one cannabis consuming capital of Canada has changed. We'll find out about that when we get back. All right, you're watching Psychedelics and Cannabis Educational News. We're live here at paceradio.net and 420pace.ca.
We are people advocating cannabis education here at paceradio.net.
Limestone City Hydroponics is Kingston, Ontario's hydroponics shop. Take your growing to the next level and create the optimal environment with a tent kit, or maximize your yield with an ebb and flow flood table kit. Either way, Limestone City Hydroponics has more sizes and options to fit your needs. Are you looking for the power of the sun that adapts to your budget? Then look no further, as they have professional grow lighting. They have indoor grow systems that are easy and cost effective, with many options to fit your living space and lifestyle. Cultivate your growing potential. We have everything you need to succeed. And if you can't make it to the store, they offer local delivery to the greater Kingston area. Remember, when you're looking for experts to help you grow, then look no further than the locally owned Limestone City Hydroponics, 105 Sunderland Drive in Kingston, Ontario. Call them at 613-548-0420.
Rerolled Saturdays. Check it out. Nothing but non-stop cannabis and psychedelic programming. Find it at 420pace.ca.
Enjoy the buzz of legalization with Campbellford Lifestyle Shop. From lights to plant nutrients, books, consumption accessories, and more, we've got all your basics to grow or consume cannabis. Visit our info center or take a look at our piercing services and body jewelry, now available in-store through Campbellford Lifestyle Shop, 17 Bridge Street West, Campbellford.
Are you looking to get your medical cannabis grow license? Limestone City Hydroponics can help patients through the process of obtaining their license to grow medical cannabis. What's that? You don't have a doctor? If you meet the medical criteria, Limestone City Hydroponics has a nurse practitioner who can assess and provide medical cannabis prescriptions. What are you waiting for? Contact Limestone City Hydroponics at limestonecityhydroponics.ca or call them at 613-548-0420.
PACE Radio is the People Advocating Cannabis Education Radio Network.
You're listening to the Pace Radio Network here at paceradio.net.
Watching Psychedelics and Cannabis Educational News. All right, Cindy, we've got 4 more stories to cover, and you are up.
We do. The next story is coming to us from Yahoo News Canada. And this story caught my eye because at Nova Scotia, since the beginning of legalization, with the exception, I think, of 1 month, has led the per capita sales. And maybe this will be the next 1 month stint that we don't. We lost it, I believe, to Ontario back in 2021 or 2022. But coming from Yahoo News Canada, the Yukon now leads Canada in cannabis consumption. We lost it, Nova Scotia. Come on, fellow Scotians, like Blue Nosers, we got to get out to the stores. New data suggests that Canadians in the north are leading the country when it comes to cannabis consumption. According to a report highlighted by Yahoo News, residents of the Yukon have the highest per capita cannabis use in Canada, outpacing every other province and territory. Researchers point to several possible factors behind this new trend. The Yukon has a relatively small population, which can amplify the per capita statistics, but there are also cultural and geographic considerations. In more remote regions, cannabis may be more accessible or socially accepted option compared to other substances. The territory has also embraced legalization with a stable retail system and relatively strong access to legal cannabis products. This accessibility may help shift consumers away from the illicit market and into regulated channels. Officials note that high usage rates don't necessarily equate to increased harm. In fact, some public health experts argue that regulated access allows for better education, product safety, and harm reduction compared to any unregulated market. The data reflects a broader national trend. Cannabis has become normalized across Canada. Well, it's becoming normalized across Canada for sure, but patterns of use still vary widely depending on region, demographics, and local culture. As researchers continue to study these patterns, regions like the Yukon may provide valuable insight into how legalization shapes long-term consumer behavior. And I got to say, Al, as a blue noser, I don't like losing my crown.
Well, I got some news for you. You're going to have to really up the amount you're spending, because according to the article, it says that in the Yukon, that they spent $100 more on an average than any other province or territory.
Yeah.
So they really cranked it up. And not only that, they said that the Yukon is high on the alcohol end of things, of alcohol consumption. And they say that alcohol consumption went down by a certain percentage, or the amount of dollars went down. Well, what it went down, cannabis sales went up. So if they're wondering whether there's been a changeover.
Oh yeah, it looks like there is, right? And if it is, like, it's just that again shows more reasons why Neil Magnuson started what he started with the Cannabis Substitution Project. And we see it coming out in numbers in the Yukon, and that's just actually really pretty beautiful.
Yeah, exactly. It's helping. It's making a difference. There's no doubt about that. So, all righty. From that story, we're moving on to the next one. And this one is coming to us from Entrepreneur. And the headline on that one says, Massachusetts awards nearly $29 million in social equity grants. Lots of dough. Massachusetts officials announced on Monday that the Executive Office of Economic Development is awarding $28.8 million in grants through its Cannabis Social Equity Grant Program. Now, funded by the Cannabis Social Equity Trust Fund, the state's social equity program supports individuals and communities who were disproportionately harmed by cannabis prohibition enforcement actions. Now, the EOED supports these individuals with grants to help launch or expand state legal cannabis operations. Officials said that they received 223 social equity grant applications this year, and they ultimately awarded 194 grants, ranging from $25,000 up to $300,000. Lawmakers established the Cannabis Social Equity Trust Fund in 2022, and several years after the state's adult use cannabis reforms took effect, as a means to encourage participation in the industry among those who were most harmed by prohibition. Now, State Senator Adam Gomez, who co-chairs the Joint Committee on Cannabis Policy, says that the equity program represents our continued commitment to building a cannabis industry in Massachusetts that is equitable, inclusive, and reflective of the communities most harmed by the war on drugs. The state awarded $26 million in grants last year and $2.3 million the previous year. Well, Cindy, your story, it talked about making people who had been convicted of cannabis not getting jobs. But yeah, here's Massachusetts giving away $29 million.
That's one thing that it's been beautiful to watch the happen with different states that have legalized medical and or recreational cannabis, taking the tax money that they are gathering through these legal sales and giving back to the community, working at overturning convictions and like just expunging them, getting them off people's records, helping those people that have been hurt by prohibition in the past move forward. We watch it in New York. I mean, like the first people that they were approving in New York, they were helping them with turnkey dispensaries, people that have been harmed, people that have been in jail, families of those people. And that's one thing that I do admire about what some of the senators in the states are doing.
Correct.
The individual state, that is.
Yeah. Like we know that our provinces get 75% of the tax money. But
but I mean, like they don't tell us what the frig they do with it.
Yeah, why not do stuff like this?
Wouldn't it be lovely?
Sure would be.
Yep.
Sure would be.
Yeah.
Alrighty.
All right. We are going to head on to the next story, which is coming to us from The Conversation, and it is saying why MDMA isn't wildly available. I'm going to try this one more time. Coming to us from The Conversation, why MDMA isn't widely available for PTS treatment yet. A growing body of research suggests that MDMA-assisted therapy could be one of the most promising new treatments for post-traumatic stress injuries. But despite encouraging results, it's not widely available. According to The Conversation, clinical trials have shown that MDMA, when used in controlled therapeutic settings, can significantly reduce post-traumatic stress injury symptoms. The substance appears to help patients process traumatic memories with reduced fear and increased emotional openness. Very important to do. In some studies, a large percentage of participants no longer met the criteria for PTS, post-traumatic stress disorder or injury, after completing MDMA-assisted therapy programs. So why isn't it already available as a standard treatment? Right? The answer lies in regulation, safety concerns, and the complexity of the therapy itself. MDMA remains a controlled substance in most countries, and approval requires extensive clinical evidence demonstrating both effectiveness and safety. Researchers also emphasize that MDMA therapy is not just about the substance itself. It involves carefully structured sessions with trained therapists, including preparation and integration phases. This makes it more complex than prescribing a traditional medication. Yes and no, but I'm going to pretend that Al's here reining me back right now. There are also concerns about potential risks, including cardiovascular effects and misuse outside of clinical settings. Still, momentum is building. Advocacy groups and researchers continue to push for regulatory approval, such as Rick Doblin, God bless his heart. And some jurisdictions are beginning to allow limited therapeutic use under strict guidelines. The article highlights a key moment in mental health research. A treatment once associated primarily with nightlife culture is now being seriously considered as a tool for healing trauma. As science and policy continue to evolve, MDMA therapy may eventually become part of mainstream mental health care. Oh, what a day that'll be. But for now, it remains on the edge of approval. And Al, I don't know what your thoughts are, but as somebody who has healed because of the grace of psychedelics, and MDMA being one of them, I can't wait for them to find a way to integrate this into mainstream modern medicine. One of the things that they said that I held myself back from was, like the preparation and integration make it harder. Well, if we're going through talk therapy anyway, it's kind of the same thing. You just need to train the talk therapists in how to do the preparation and integration.
Yeah. No, I think it's great that if it can help some people, then why not? Just because a medication is legal or has been proved to be effective doesn't mean it's effective for everybody. there's medications that aren't effective for people that work great for other people. And, MDMA and other psychedelics could end up being, the same thing.
It is the same thing. I mean, I facilitate a number of different medicines. And I mean, I come across people all the time that are coming to me going, I would like to take this, and after a conversation, it's just like, I'm sorry, but you don't qualify. I mean, it can do you a lot of harm. So I've got to aim you over here.
Yeah. And, interaction with other medications.
Oh yeah, that's usually the big one, right? Like, and it's hard to have to turn people down when I know that in the long run this can help them, but they need to do work leading up to that, and that's up to them and their doctor and their talk therapist. And we all work together. And if the modern medicine would work together with the therapists of the traditional medicine, it would go a lot faster.
Yeah, and as you've talked about in the past, like some of the stuff that you've done, you've had to go through a certain procedures beforehand, such as not eating certain foods and things like that.
Yeah. Yep. Absolutely. I mean, like I've had to have medical tests done to prove that my heart was healthy and my liver was healthy, have my electrolytes, checked. And all of that stuff to be able to go take certain medicines that can affect the heart and the liver and the. Okay. So yeah, like it's really important. And then with each medicine, they want you to detox from certain foods and certain toxins before you even get there. And that's part of detoxing. Part of that is detoxing modern medicines, which again, somebody like me would send you back to your doctor. You can't be on this prescription to take this medicine. So I need you to wean off of it and be off of it for 30 days before I can sit with you.
Exactly.
Right. Because it's all about making sure that the person on the other end is getting benefit and not harm.
Mm-hmm. Yep. All righty. From there, we're going to move on to our last story of the day. And this one is coming to us from Filter. I've never heard of Filter, but it's from Filter. Headline there says, New Mexico will fund psychedelic treatment for patients on low incomes. This is fantastic. Now, on March the 11th, New Mexico Governor Michelle Grissom signed the budget for the upcoming fiscal year into law, and in doing so, underlined the state's position at the vanguard of alternative mental health treatments. Embedded within the finalized appropriation is a late addition, a pioneer directive to allocate $630,000 to the state's psilocybin treatment equity fund, newly established under New Mexico's Medical Psilocybin Act. Confirmation of the funding represents a big step forward in the state's efforts to integrate psychedelic-assisted therapies into the broader behavioral health infrastructure. And the formal allocation of state funds to pay for psychedelic treatments for patients on low incomes is seen as a world first. State Senator Jeff Steinborn was one of the legislative champions of the 2025 legalization of psilocybin for medical purposes. He emphasized that the state's financial support is what will ultimately dictate the efficacy and the fairness of the entire enterprise. He says, I'm excited that New Mexico has taken the next step in support of our medical psilocybin treatment program. And he goes on to say that an important part of our state law was the creation of an equity fund to ensure all New Mexicans who qualify for the program would have access to it, not just those with financial resources. Through this funding provided by the legislator and governor, as well as additional investment in research into end-of-life anxiety, we are working to launch the best evidence-based program possible, they say. Now, in addition to the equity fund allocation, the budget authorizes a supplementary $300,000 earmarked for clinical research at the University of New Mexico into treating end-of-life anxiety with psilocybin. Research, Cindy, as well as access to medications. Like, excellent.
Well, Al, I think that this is excuse my language, folks, but I need to swear. I think that this is fucking amazing. I'm sitting here with you reading it, and, even just, even just listening to it, like I was cheering, I was happy. The fact that they want to make sure that this medicine can get to everybody who wants to step up and move forward with their healing, has made that decision that healing is for them, is amazing. I've said it a gajillion times on our show that with the training I've gone through. So with the training I've gone through, almost, like, not even almost, all of them have suggested using a sliding scale, and having your minimum, I kind of like, I would like to get at least this much, and anything that you get above and beyond that, for me anyway, I bank. I put in savings. And then if somebody comes to me and says, okay, well, I'm just going to pick a number, if the cost of this ceremony is $50 and I only have 10, and they're offering up all the money they have, well, then I will top it up.
Right.
Because I'm not going to say no. I can't say no. Like, if somebody's coming to me and they're desperate for healing and they really, really want to heal and they're all in, I'm going to work with them.
Exactly. Yeah.
And that's the way it should be.
Yeah. And they're helping people with that access by helping them with funds to do so.
Yeah. No, I think that's great. Yeah. That's really beautiful to read.
I think we got some really good stories today. Money that was given out to help people, low income, as well as those that are sick.
Yes. So. Yep. No, that was a really good story. A lot of them were really good. I love watching what's going on here with the First Nations here in Nova Scotia as well. I'm glad that we've had updates almost every story for the past, every show for the past. Every show,
yeah. It's an ongoing thing.
It is, and I'm excited to see it, move and push forward. It's quite an exciting thing.
Yes, it sure is. All right. Anything else before I sign us off?
I don't think so.
All right. Other than that, that's it for today. We hope you found it informative and educational. Thanks goes for everybody who tuned into the broadcast today. Also to our sponsors, Limestone, Hydroponics.ca, the Campbellford Lifestyle Shop, as well as At-Eze.ca. And we will see you Monday morning at 10 a.m. Eastern. And as always, don't forget to educate, medicate, and do not incarcerate.
You're listening to the Pace Radio Network here at paceradio.net.
The opinions of the individuals during this broadcast are their own and may not be the opinions of their group or other organizations they may be involved with. All medical advice during our broadcast is not a medical opinion and should be checked with your medical physician.
Enjoy the buzz of legalization with Campbellford Lifestyle Shop. From lights to plant nutrients, books, consumption accessories, and more, we've got all your basics to grow or consume cannabis. Visit our info center or take a look at our piercing services and body jewelry, now available in-store through Campbellford Lifestyle Shop, 17 Bridge Street West, Campbellford.
Limestone City Hydroponics is Kingston, Ontario's hydroponics shop. Take your growing to the next level and create the optimal environment with a tent kit, or maximize your yield with an ebb and flow flood table kit. Either way, Limestone City Hydroponics has more sizes and options to fit your needs. Are you looking for the power of the sun that adapts to your budget? Then look no further, as they have professional grow lighting. They have indoor grow systems that are easy and cost effective, with many options to fit your living space and lifestyle. Cultivate your growing potential. We have everything you need to succeed. And if you can't make it to the store, they offer local delivery to the greater Kingston area. Remember, when you're looking for experts to help you grow, then look no further than the locally owned Limestone City Hydroponics, 105 Sunderland Drive in Kingston, Ontario. Call them at 613-548-0420.
We are people advocating cannabis education here at paceradio.net.